sent to mankind to guide us all the way to the day where we'll be asked what we did in our life to make it that way. So we need to be ready and prepared.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome everyone back to another Sunnah Style episode. We are talking about losing my faith. This is the third part in a series, a very important series that deals with a very, very important subject, and that is people leaving Islam. It is a reality. People need to face it. We as Muslims need to face it. We need to deal with it, and we need to know how to fight it. How can we protect our children, our youth, the future of Islam? How can we instill in them the proper understanding of Islam, the love of Islam? And at the same time, how can we refute and be able to learn how to counter these arguments and understand the deceptive methods and techniques that people are using in misguiding our Muslim ummah? We have talked about my experience in Africa in the previous show. Now I would like you to listen to the experience of a very renowned sheikh, a very good brother, mashallah, may Allah bless him, Sheikh Abdullah Hakim Quick. When he was in Africa, he said that one of the first things that he noticed, that how the Christians are working, how they're doing their da'wah, is they have built churches like mosques. Okay, the structure, the architecture is very similar now. Why is that? Well, it's very, very smart actually. It shows that someone who is educated, who has a plan, who understands human thinking, the dynamics of human thinking, the dynamics of culture, he understands and studied it based on research, is slowly knocking down the barrier between the Muslims and the Christians to make the two seem more close to each other, or make the Christianity seem more acceptable to the Muslim. Slowly knocking down that wall, that faith wall that is saying that no, these guys are different. Their beliefs are contradictory. There should be something to show that they're different, that we should differentiate ourselves from them. So they're slowly trying to break that, and that is very smart. I mean, these guys have a plan, you can tell. So people, when they look at the two, they say, it's kind of like, well, it's almost the same, right? Another thing that they did, and this is shocking, that they made, instead of ringing bells, as the Christians usually do, in their churches or different things, that they started calling a form of adhan, okay, a call. It's not the adhan, of course, of the Muslims, but something very similar. So again, very smart. Why? They are actually using Muslim terms, Muslim terminology, things that are very comfortable to the Muslims, or they're, we know them, we are comfortable with. So they're taking small things from here and there, words. They're making use of the word Allah. They're saying Allah. They're saying, Prophet, like they will say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam on their prophets, or they say Isa Alayhi Salam. They won't say Jesus. Just slowly take these lingo, the terms that are used in Islam, and they themselves will use it in their sermons, in their preaching, in the way they write their books and their da'wah, just to bring the Muslims closer to them, to feel like there's no difference. So they're calling adhan. Imagine that. 5 times a day. Yes, that is correct, calling it 5 times a day. Praying even 5 times a day. That they started actually doing some of their sermons 5 times a day. Again, to show the Muslims that, we're very close. We're almost the same, okay? There's just few things here and there. They even pray with the Muslims sometimes. And I was reading one of the manuals of how to convert, Muslims to Christianity. And one of the points was that you should pray with them. And you should hear them, you should let them hear you in your dua when you make sujood. Imagine that. When you make sujood, let them hear you next to you that you are praying to Jesus in a nice way, or that you are praying to, God, like the Father, in a nice way, with so much love. And subhanAllah, imagine that. So this is one of the points. I was reading again, very shocking, subhanAllah. These points are just shocking. That in one of the Christian colleges, a woman was presented, a woman came in, and she was wearing a burqa, okay, like a full niqab, just her eyes could be seen with gloves and everything, right? So this is a morning class. of students. These were students who actually didn't take their Christmas break as other people do, they go home. These were dedicated missionaries who were being trained to be sent where? In Saudi Arabia, okay, and in the parts of the Muslim world, the Arab Muslim world. And these guys have left their holidays. They have left everything to be with their families. Why? So they can attend this missionary seminar. So they're basically coming in, they're sitting down, and all of a sudden this woman walks in with full niqab, okay, and she starts talking to them in perfect English. So they first thought that this is like some, where, Islamic studies, university is down the street or something like that, right? No. So she started talking to them and saying that, don't be fooled, I'm actually a Christian, okay? I am a missionary who goes into where? Into Saudi Arabia. I have to dress like this. I have to hide like this. And she was telling them how she does da'wah, how she calls people to Christianity, how she talks to them, how she leaves parts of the Bible in Arabic on certain places where people can find them and read them, how she writes certain things, how she approaches, she befriends people and talks to them, how she pretends that she is a Muslim. Deception. Okay? And a lot of times, now I'm not saying all the Christians, and I'm not saying this is the standard, but they use that saying of Paul that, to this I've become this, and to that I've become, to the pagan I'm, this. I mean, there's a statement, I'm not, verbatim here, but basically that to him I become this, and to this I become that. And they use that as a proof that you can become whatever it takes, but as long as you deliver your message. So the end justifies the means. Okay, this is the Machiavelli philosophical concept that they are using. So this woman was into Saudi Arabia. Imagine the holy places of the Muslims, the Mecca, Medina. There are Christian missionaries, underground Christian movements. So this is something very dangerous, subhanAllah. These guys are prepared. These guys have studied everything, and they are ready to attack Islam. So they go all over. Campus Crusaders is a very huge organization, Christian organization, just hence the name, of course, Campus Crusaders. Look at that. They focus mainly on universities, but they have millions of dollars of budget and thousands of missionaries, and they are very well organized. They have missionaries all over the world. Now, I want to move to a concept called the 1040 window. Okay, 1040 window, to us it might be nothing but a number, but it's a Christian lingo. Okay, this Christian word that they use, that Christian missionaries know very well. And it basically, kind of like a window of a rectangle with boundaries of latitude 10 and 40 degrees north of the equator. 10 and 40 degrees north of the equator. To modern day crusaders, this is something that they know exactly. It's like, subhanAllah, it means basically what China means to Coca-Cola. Okay, this is what, subhanAllah, this citation says. Meaning that it's something that they focus so much on. What is this place? It is Central Asia, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Middle East, and parts of Africa. Again, Central Asia, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Middle East, and parts of Africa. So they focus so much on this, and subhanAllah, they have a motto, a slogan. It is Muslims. It's their turn. It's all we do, whatever it takes. SubhanAllah. Muslims, it's their turn. It's all we do, whatever it takes. I had the chance of meeting an interesting missionary while I was working in Canada. At the time I was in university, I was working in a store, in a computer store, and these young missionaries came in and they're talking, we started talking, I was trying to sell them a computer, and lo and behold, it came out that they're missionaries. And I was asking them, like, what are you guys doing? They're saying, no, we've been trained to be missionaries, and this is what we do. And I said, I'm also a Muslim missionary. Kind of, I told them, I give da'wah, I tell people. So we should have sometimes some discussions. They say, what, we don't have time, actually. I said, they're leaving somewhere for a mission. And I said, okay, what do you guys do? Like, I work this, and, I'm a student. What? He's like, no, we don't do anything, actually. This is our job. We are paid, and this is what we do, 24/7. We go, and there was a husband and wife, subhanAllah, look what they do. And they dedicate their time, and they're being paid very well, very, very well. So compare that, subhanAllah, to the endeavors of our da'wah. it's really, there's a big difference, right? These guys are set. Of course, subhanAllah, we look in the Muslim communities, a lot of people are working. And of course, this is the right day, mashallah, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our Muslim community. But we are working, we are, very busy. And a lot of times we don't have time for the da'wah. And, there's only few da'is who are dedicated specifically for Islam. These guys have swept us out. I mean, they're just working so much, and this is their job, their daily life, and so on. I met another person that I had a good discussion with quite a few times, and he invited me over to his house. And we had, some interesting points that were raised. And he himself was saying that he worked, and he has a very good business, and in his church he gives so much money, and that he's leaving his business to someone to work it, and himself, his wife, and all their children, who have all been going to church and training, and he had a lot of knowledge about Islam, I have to admit, that they're going to Muslim countries, in I think Lebanon, he was saying, and they will be, giving da'wah to Muslims. So I was, subhanAllah, I was very, very, so this is what the meaning, basically. Muslims, is their turn, it's all we do, whatever it takes. They'll do whatever it takes. They will, they think that this is, now it's the Muslims' turn. They need to bring Christianity to us. They need to convert us. They need to save us, right? And that's the interesting thing, that these people are on batil. These people are on the wrong way. And look at their dedication. Look at their desire. Look at their hard work and how much they're investing in the money, and how organized and they're basically sacrificing, subhanAllah, sometimes their life. They're risking their life. If you get caught in Saudi Arabia, this is a big thing. You get in trouble, right? They're risking their to be jailed and so on in different places, and sometimes they do. And they are sitting on what? On the path of shaitan, a'udhu billah. They're calling to shirk. So it's interesting, very, very, very interesting, this phenomenon. I want to end with an interesting statement, a very beautiful statement. This is a crusade, actually. And before, it was crusaders with swords. I've taken this from a brother, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him. Before, it was crusader with swords and shields. Now they are doing crusading. They're coming to the Muslim countries. They're crusaders with what? With the checks and their Visa cards. The same intention, but just different means. Inshallah, we'll take a break, and we'll be right back talking about this more and giving you some statistics about what's happening in Africa and throughout the world. Be with us on Sunnah Style.
What we did not have to make it that way, so we need to be ready and prepared.
Huda TV's top-rated program, Ask Huda, is with you live 7 days a week in the month of Ramadan with Dr. Muhammad Salah and Sheikh Asim Al-Hakim. Call us any day of the week live for answers to your questions. 30 days, 30 episodes, Ask Huda, only on Huda TV.
What we did not have to make it that way, so we need to be ready and prepared.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back. Just before the break, we were talking about the missionaries, the way they're working, the way crusaders used to do it before, they're fighting, and now the way they're doing it through their checks and their Visa cards. Before I start and getting into some numbers and in some research, I want to give you again the website that, alhamdulillah, we have developed, and to talk a little bit about it. It's Islamic Center for Research and Academics, www.icraa.org, like Iqra, like the word read, right, but in English letters, icraa.org. And this site, alhamdulillah, a brother by the name of Waqar and brother Bassam, that some of you might know, who was authoring a lot of articles on answeringchristianity.com. We have kind of gathered forces, and brother Adel as well, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him. We have gathered forces, and we have developed a systematic way of writing articles, academic articles based on research, responding to the queries and the attacks that these missionaries have on Islam. Because we have to understand that these guys are covering all the aspects. We talked a little bit about how they misguide children, and of course it's very easy to misguide them just by food or candy, or just giving them a better life, or just school or so on. But these guys are also studying how to misguide the Muslim academics, people, the lame people, people such as myself and you, students, women, men, engineers, doctors, and they actually go into, subhanAllah, our own books, and they try to take a hadith or certain ayats, try to take them out of context and try to put doubts. Okay, they don't care about anything else, but if they can, put one little doubt and confuse you about something and then attack you more and more. So we have answered a lot of these things by going into the Quran, the Sunnah, the tafsir of the ayats, the scholarly tafsir, the old tafsir, the tafsir of the Sahaba, the tafsir of the scholars, the Imams, and we have taken and analyzed and did it properly. Not from our own hearts, not just from our own minds, but a lot of these answers are there. Someone needs to take it together. In the Arabic language, of course, there are many, many resources, and many scholars actually who have answered to a lot of these queries. But in the English language, I would say that this work to this quality is unprecedented. So make sure you check it out and you spread it to people so that they understand and they can be educated on this. Now, let's get back into it. I want to give you a few statistics, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Africa. Why? Because, see, Africa is such an interesting place. And there's been a statement that a Christian leader said that they had a goal that by 2010 that they wanted to Christianize like half of Africa or more than half. Okay, of course that goal has failed, alhamdulillah, walillah alhamd, but it's definitely, they're moving to their goal, subhanAllah, somehow, and we will see the numbers. But see, Africa is, it's such an important place for the Muslims. The da'wah has spread into Africa and in such many beautiful ways. And the African countries, the African nations, were such strong Muslims and were such a strong backbone of the Ummah. And these people know that if they break Africa, then they can actually take that over and they can spread their da'wah to the rest of the world. So I'll give you some statistics. That in the 1900s, there were just 9 million Christians in Africa. That's 9% of the population. In 1980, the population had grown to over 200 million. At this current growth of rate, it can be predicted that by the year 2000, okay, this is 1980, imagine, this is, the population was 390 million, okay? That is about 48% of the population. So again, people might have issues with the numbers. This is quite a reliable statistics. But what I'm saying is that just to trigger an alarm, okay? As I said, even with Save Maryam, the endeavor that's taking place in Indonesia, Muslims are wasting their time debating over statistics. And this is an issue and we need to deal with it. The Washington Post on February 22nd, the CIA admitted something very controversial. And this is what's going to start me into what I have to really say, the crops of this show. They admitted to a very controversial loophole, okay, that permits an agency to employ clerics and missionaries for clandestine work overseas. So basically, they're actually allowing for these people to come in, the government somehow helping them, and they're going to convert and to give their dawah in the different places. Now, where do they want to go? Of course, they go to war-stricken countries that sometimes the same countries and the same governments are the ones who are attacking these countries. So they bring not only destruction upon the land, but they also bring in their missionaries to say that, hey, we'll destroy you, but we'll also save you. Right? And we know that very well that's happening today in many, many Muslim countries, right? That we created the problems and we're also going to give you the solution, okay? Which is such a contradictory and hypocritical thing. But a lot of people don't think anymore because they are surrounded by destruction, they're surrounded by pain and suffering, and they just need a way out. And this is one way that the people misguide these people. So they said, subhanAllah, if you go to a missionary church in a typical African country, you will find that they, as I said, that they use typical words that are very well known to the Muslims. And I touched upon this a little bit, but I want to touch a little bit more and give you some more examples. It's gone to such an extent that they're actually using like tajweed when they are reciting their holy book, when they're reciting their Bible, whatever they might recite in their holy books. They will use like tajweed, kind of like they're trying to copy the tajweed of the Quran. Again, why? So that the Muslims might think that this is something that is very close. Another thing that I found is that they use like names from the Quran, such as Al-Furqan, and they have made a book, okay, called the True Furqan, that some people, have made it to seem like the Quran. And it's in Arabic, and of course, Muslim will never buy the Alhamdulillah, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guarded the Quran, and no one will ever be able to distort it. But look at the audacity of these people and what they're trying to do. Another interesting thing is that they changed the preacher pulpit to kind of like a pulpit to look like the Muslim pulpit, okay, to look like the member of the Muslims when they're giving khutbah. So you see these deceptions that are taking things. So it's basically, as I said before, to make it think that, Christianity is not that bad, let us accept it, let us, bring it very. There's a book called Shahadatul Quran that these people have developed, and it's specifically targeting Muslims. And look at this deception. What are they trying to do? In this book, they're basically trying to quote different Quranic verses, such as Surah An-Nisa, verse 171, referring to Isa alayhi salam as a prophet, as a word and a spirit. Then they try to apply their own satanic tafsirs, subhanAllah, and claim that this refers to the Trinity. Look at that. Why? Because there's a prophet, a word, and a spirit, right? So they'll say, okay, look, 3. So therefore, the Quran is applied. And I've seen people have emailed me and asked me about this, such as, why does the Quran, for example, say the word we? Okay, why does the Quran use the word we? Nahnu, for example, right? And it refers to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I explained to them that in Arabic language, like in the English language, okay, this is a plural of majesty, and that even the queen refers to herself sometimes as we, okay, in England, and many people have in their languages talks when you're talking about someone of great majesty, that you are using this word. Of course, there is no comparison. Laysa kamithlihi shay. There's no such thing. But the language speaking, right, that this is applying. So a lot of times the Christians will use that and say, see, it's a plural. Therefore, it's your Quran is talking about the Trinity. You see the plural. First and foremost, be a bit smart. This nahnu, okay, in Arabic, does not refer to 3. Okay, the plural can be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. So it has nothing to do with the number 3. Okay, but without a doubt, as we know very well, Qul Huwallahu Ahad. This is just very simple. Our aqidah is very clearly defined. It's very in line with the language, with everyone. It's only the minds of people and their internal desires and their satanic tafsirs that they're trying to actually, distort the meanings, and they're trying to fool and lie to the people. This is what it is in the end. It's fooling and lying to the people. And I love it, because every time they bring these kind of things, I said, you don't know how to speak your own language, do you? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, man, because you have the same thing in English. I'm like, no. And then I showed them the example, just a literal example in English, a saying or something like that. And I say, so who do you think you're lying to? And then they'll say, okay, but what about this one, the prophet, the word, and the spirit? I'm like, come on, man. He is called a prophet, a word, and a spirit, okay? A prophet, a human being, a word because he spoke the word that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has inspired, and a spirit because he is a spirit created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's just so clear. I mean, there's no confusion except in the minds of the missionaries, and even there, I doubt, and I doubt there is just intentionally they want to lie and lie and lie. So then they, as we said, and they have many. I mean, they talk about many other ayats, and they put in this book, and they publish many fabricated stories of Muslims who discovered truth, and so they put in this book and they're distributing it to the Muslim community, okay, misguiding them. So this is something that we need to look at. The educational aid that these missionaries provide. Now you have to understand that the way these organizations work, and people need to understand that colonization before was through armies, through fighting, through many things. Now it's like colonization with a smile. Okay, now colonization is happening on many different aspects, and one of them is this. What they'll do, even before, when the British entered India and they colonized India, they actually brought their missionaries with them, and they infiltrated where? Into the educational system, to change the language, to change the culture, to change the way education is done, so they can weaken the tarbiyah, the Islamic tarbiyah, and that way it will be easier to change. So you'll find that a lot of these organizations, these Christian organizations, what do they bring in? They bring in so-called educational aid, and they call themselves humanitarian organization. This is just a myth. The whole World Vision's education aid consists of, according to the documentation, Bible study, Bible studies, Christian literature, Sunday school classes, and spiritual counseling. Subhanallah. So again, the deception is on so many scales and from so many aspects. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect the Muslim ummah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to expose the liars, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give Islam the strength and the ability to bring back the Muslims, to let the Muslims understand the beauty of Islam, the truth, and to come back to this deen. Inshallah, we'll see you on the next episode here on Sunnah Style. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The Quran was sent to mankind to guide us all the way to the day where we'll be asked what we did in our life to make it that way. So we need to